Thank you, Mr. President. Today's meeting is taking place at a potential inflection point in the 3-year war in Ukraine. In the past few weeks, we have seen intensified efforts to bring the parties to negotiations. These initiatives offer a glimmer of hope for progress towards a ceasefire and an eventual peaceful settlement. At the same time, we continue to witness relentless attacks on Ukrainian cities and towns. These strikes have killed and injured many civilians and caused widespread destruction in residential areas and civilian infrastructure. Last week, Russian forces launched one of their most devastating assaults to date. On the night of 23-24 April, a massive combined missile and drone attack targeted multiple regions of Ukraine, including Kyiv, Zhytomyr, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, Poltava, Khmelnytsky, Odessa, Sumy, and Zaporizhia. In Kyiv alone, multiple residential buildings were hit. At least 12 people were reported killed and more than 70 others injured, including several children, making it the deadliest attack on the capital in 9 months. This attack followed other deadly strikes. On Palm Sunday, a missile struck the historic center of Sumy, reportedly killing 35 people. Earlier, a strike on Kryvyi Rih killed 18 people, including 9 children at a playground. This attack stands as the deadliest single strike against children since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. Other cities, including Dnipro, Odessa, and Zaporizhia, have also been subjected to repeated attacks in recent weeks. In frontline areas, civilian casualties are reported daily. Shelling, the use of glide bombs, and first-person view drone attacks in Kherson, Donetsk, Sumy, and Kharkiv regions have resulted in increased civilian casualties. On 23 April, a drone strike on a civilian shuttle bus in Dnipropetrovsk region reportedly killed at least 9 people and dozens more were injured. Most of them were women who worked at a nearby mining and processing plant. Mr. President, as of 24 April, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights had verified 151 civilians killed and 697 injured in the month of April. With verification ongoing, this figure is expected to surpass the March figures, which were already 50% higher than in February. And since February 2022, OHCHR has verified 13,015 civilians, including 699 children killed, and 31,628 more civilians, including 2,016 children, injured in Ukraine. We have also noted recent media reports quoting local Russian authorities that indicate civilian casualties in the Kursk, Bryansk, and Belgorod regions of the Russian Federation. These include alleged Ukrainian strikes on 23 and 24 April that reportedly killed 3 people in the Belgorod region. We condemn all attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure, wherever they occur. Directing attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure is prohibited under international humanitarian law and must cease immediately. Mr. President, the Secretary General has called for de-escalation and a durable ceasefire in Ukraine. In this regard, we are encouraged by the diplomatic efforts underway. We take note of yesterday's announcement by the Russian Federation of a 72-hour truce planned for the period from 8 to 10 May. This follows a similar announcement by the Russian Federation on 19 April of a 30-hour Easter truce. After that announcement, Ukrainian authorities reportedly agreed to mirror any such steps, reiterating their earlier support for a 30-day ceasefire proposed by the United States. Regrettably, Hostilities continued during Holy Week, with both sides accusing each other of violations. A month earlier, on 19 March, the Secretary General welcomed the separate announcements by the United States, the Russian Federation, and Ukraine regarding a 30-day moratorium on strikes against energy infrastructure and the resumption of negotiations on the safety of navigation in the Black Sea. Despite these commitments, however, attacks against energy infrastructure persisted. Nevertheless, diplomatic efforts continue. The UN remains engaged, particularly on the safety of navigation in the Black Sea, to support global food security and maintain vital supply chains strained by the war. The continued exchange of prisoners of war between Ukraine and the Russian Federation, including the largest to date on 20 April involving 500 prisoners, shows that with political will, diplomacy can yield tangible results even in the most difficult circumstances. Mr. President, as we approach the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, we are reminded with even greater urgency of the centrality of the Charter of the United Nations and international law in safeguarding peace and security. The Russian Federation's full-scale invasion of Ukraine stands as an egregious challenge to these fundamental principles, jeopardizing stability in Europe and threatening the broader international order. The war in Ukraine is a war of choice. What is needed now is a full, immediate, and unconditional ceasefire as a critical first step towards ending the violence and creating the conditions for a just, comprehensive, and sustainable peace. A peace that fully respects Ukraine's independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders in accordance with the UN Charter, international law, and relevant UN resolutions. The United Nations remains prepared to support all meaningful efforts towards this end. Thank you.